I brought with me the Omni, 4,155 pages. When was it produced? In the dead of the night, 1:30 in the morning when it was released. Now, people argue that it's conservatives' fault. You don't have the Christmas spirit. Somehow you're holding up government. Well, whose job is it to produce this? The people in charge of spending, the people in charge of both of the parties. When did they know that this would be necessary? Well, it's in the law, September 30th. You got 9 months, almost 10 months, to produce a plan, to have a spending plan. They weren't ready on September 30th, so they voted themselves 90 more days. They weren't ready last week either, so they voted themselves another week. And now we have it at 1:30 in the morning this morning. But what's the clamor? The clamor is to vote. Vote now. Let's get it done. Why are you standing in the way of spending? Well, the real question is this. What is more dangerous? What is more dangerous to the country? $1.1 trillion in new debt, or as Republican leadership likes to say, oh, but it's a win. It's a big win. We're getting $45 billion for the military. So which is more important? Which threatens the country more? Are we at risk for being invaded by a foreign power if we don't put $45 billion into the military? Or are we more at risk by adding to a $31 trillion debt?
All right, guys, I got to tell you, this video right here should really upset a lot of people, okay? Because it did upset me. I promise you guys, though, I'm not going to get out of control over it. I'm going to control my emotions, even though the things I'm going to tell you guys in this video is things that people should be mad at, right? They should be mad at not just the Democrats, okay? You should also be mad at the Republicans, too. Because they are going along with something that the people, conservatives in this country, do not support when it comes to this new $1.7 trillion omnibus spending bill that is being pushed through Congress. You know, the bill that they pass every single year with multiple appropriations bills in order to avoid a government shutdown. Yeah, this bill, the bill that nobody actually has time to read because it's 4,000 plus pages. Again, we're spending $1.7 trillion. Yeah, that bill. This bill has some things in it that really kind of blow my mind. It does not block funding for the 87,000 new IRS agents that are going to be hired to harass middle-class Americans. But you know what it does fund, though? It funds January 6th attack prosecutions. In fact, there's $2.6 billion for U.S. attorneys to further prosecute or to further support prosecutions related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol and domestic terrorism cases. We're also talking about giving $11.3 billion to the FBI to combat extremist violence and domestic terrorism, aka white supremacy, right? This is what we're doing. Okay, now this is a part of, again, nearly $39 billion that would be for the Justice Department. This is where our money's going, guys. We are funding corrupt government institutions like the FBI and the Department of Justice, basically rewarding them for their corruption that has been exposed by the Twitter files. And the Senate Republicans in particular are trying to tell us, well, this is what the American people want, right? They want more witch hunt investigations and prosecutions related to January 6th, not getting any of that stuff for BLM or Antifa. Nah, don't worry about them, right? Or the Roe v. Wade protesters. Nah. We don't need any funding to go after those people, right, that committed domestic terrorism and acts of violence. Nah, just January 6th, folks. This is what conservatives want. According to Senate Republicans like Mitch McConnell, who also said that their number one priority in the Senate, the Republicans' number one priority, this is what Mitch McConnell said, is the $45 billion that has been appropriated in this omnibus spending bill to fund the war in Ukraine. No, he actually really said that. That is the Republicans' number one priority. Take a look.
So let's step back and say, what are the real needs of the country right now? They're in the defense part of our expenditures, making sure the Defense Department can deal with the major threats coming from Russia and China, providing assistance for the Ukrainians to defeat the Russians. That's the number one priority for the United States right now, according to most Republicans. That's sort of how we see the challenges confronting the country at the moment. So, admittedly, I'm pretty proud of the fact that with a Democratic president, a Democratic House, and a Democratic Senate, we were able to achieve, through this omnibus spending bill, essentially all of our priorities.
Yeah, so this is the uniparty, right before our very eyes, guys, right? You see what Mitch McConnell just said? He literally said the number one priority for Republicans in the Senate is funding for Ukraine. Not inflation, not the border, not crime, not the economy, not anything that actually affects the American people, okay? Funding the war in Ukraine is the number one priority of Republicans in Congress. And just from that statement, they should all be voted out. They should all be voted out, right? But I'm going to tell you guys what's happening here. I'm going to tell you guys why this is happening. But first, I want to mention this. Kevin McCarthy, who is the leader of the Republicans in the House, he's actually opposed to this. And the main reason why is because he's trying to whip up votes to be leader, because he still doesn't have some members of the Republicans in the House on his side, particularly those in the Freedom Caucus. So he's opposed to this spending bill. He's basically trying to push it back until next year with the new Congress, so that Republicans will have leverage, because Republicans will have the majority. He's trying to push it back, and he's coming out and he's saying he's opposed to this. Take a look.
We're 2 weeks away, 14 days away for having a stronger hand in negotiations. Watch what we were able to do in the NDAA. Remove the mandated vaccine for our men and women. They're increasing just the baseline $134 billion. That's $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years us taxpayers will have to pay. They're adding $410 million for border security, but none of it in America. You know where it's at? In 5 Middle Eastern countries. That's where they're sending our hard-earned taxpayer money. Why don't we think, instead of adding more money, we could eliminate waste and wokeism? We would have a stronger hand. The Democrats planned this on purpose. They didn't want to show the American public where they wanted to spend the money and keep spending more of it.
Yeah, so let's read a little bit here about what exactly is in this $45 billion for Ukraine, and then we're going to get into, again, why we actually are seeing this and the real money laundering that's going on here that we got to talk about. The massive full government funding bill released earlier Tuesday contains $45 billion in new emergency funds for Ukraine in its battle against Russian forces, nearly 20% higher than the Biden administration requested. The final amount included in the year-end must-pass omnibus bill means Ukraine will get $8 billion more than the $37 billion President Biden asked Congress for last month. Broken down, the funds include about $11.9 billion to replenish U.S. weapon stocks that have been dipped into often since February 24th, when Russia first attacked Ukraine and Washington poured in its own lethal equipment to bolster the besieged country. AKA, this is money that's going straight to defense contractors, right? AKA, American defense contractors are about to get a stimulus check, right? And that's the reason why we're saying this. We're going to get more into that, but I want to read more here. A summary of the supplemental aid also noted that $9 billion will go to the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, which includes efforts to train, equip, and provide intelligence support to Ukraine's military. Another $6.98 billion will go towards U.S. European Command mission and intelligence support, pay equipment, and related activities. In addition, $30 million is meant for, quote, advanced nuclear reactors and advanced nuclear fuels to increase Ukrainian energy security and independence as Russia continues to hit its energy infrastructure with frequent missile barrages and drone strikes. Yeah, we're building up that country, right? That country is dependent on the United States at this point, okay? And $126.3 million will help to prepare and respond to potential nuclear and radiological incidents in Ukraine, notable given the subsequent saber rattling from Russian President Vladimir Putin over his country's nuclear stocks. Another $2.47 billion would address humanitarian needs in the country. $13.37 billion would go to economic support for Kyiv, and $2.4 billion would help resettle Ukrainian arrivals and refugees into the United States. The extra funding comes after the administration pressed lawmakers to pass more supplemental funding for Kyiv and the omnibus, specifically finding crossroads with House Republicans who have voiced support for the extra dollars and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who has continuously championed assistance to Ukraine. Okay, so here's what's going on here, guys. I'm going to show you guys what's going on. This is the real money laundering operation. It's not the FTX thing that people put out there about, sending trillions to Ukraine and Ukraine investing in FTX and the money going back to the pot. No, that's not the real money laundering operation, right? I said that from the get-go. Nothing will ever come of that because that's not actually how it works. Okay, I'm gonna keep it quite honest with you guys. That's not happening because quite honestly, they don't need to do that, right? This is actually the real money laundering operation, is how they send money to American defense contractors, and then the American defense contractors then turn around and send that money back to the politicians, right? That's what people actually should be paying attention to, because people like Mitch McConnell and all the Democrat Party as well too. Like for example, in 2020, Raytheon, who's a defense contractor, gave $790,000 to defense committees, including an $18,000 check to Mitch McConnell, directly to Mitch McConnell, right? If you look into open secrets here, look at all the money that defense contractors, defense spending to Congress, they've given $17.9 million to all candidates, to both parties, right? They bought the parties, right? This was 2022. 2020, it was 35 million. 35 million. So if people really want to see what's going on here, this is what's happening, right? The politicians are getting paid by the defense contractors. Then they turn around and they pass these multi-trillion-dollar bills, these billion-dollar bills that send money to the defense contractors to, support Ukraine. And then again, they turn around and then they send the money back to the politicians. That's what people actually should be concerned about, because that's what's happening here. It's not the will of the American people that have been done by these politicians. It's actually the will of big corporate America, right? And when people figure that out, they will actually figure out what the real problems is in politics. Is that our politicians have been bought and sold like prostitutes, right? That's just what it is. They don't work for you. They work for the corporations. And that's it. And Mitch McConnell just told you. Our number one priority has nothing to do with the concerns of the American people, not even the concerns of conservatives. It has everything to do with the concerns of the defense contractors that sign my checks, that send me money to my campaign, that support my super PACs, that I then use to rig election races against Trump candidates or people that won't support me. That's what's happening here. And this is why money in politics is so toxic, and probably the number one reason why we really aren't going anywhere with these politicians. As long as they're allowed to be bought and sold by these corporations like this is what you're going to get. You're going to get massive spending bills where nobody's going to read it. There's going to be a whole lot of fluff. It's going to bankrupt the country, right? And a lot of that money is going to go to aid Ukraine while we suffer and we get nothing out of it. And then we're told that, hey, we're supposed to support it, or we're, pro-Russia, right? We're pro-Putin if we don't support this. While the same politicians that are screaming this are pro-Ukraine over America, right? They support Ukraine more than they support America. They'll let America fall apart while they build up in Ukraine. Amazing stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.